Welcome, fans of flip clocks. I'll start off this video by saying I'm not making these. I'm not making these to sell them. I had it one time, but I'm not going to do that again. So I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to be the bad guy, but I'm not going to make these for sale. So I'm going to show you how to make these for your own flip clocks. And so to make this right here, if you're starting from scratch, it's going to cost you $60. Yes, it's going to cost you $60 if you want to use really good stuff like this is. So what we're looking at is we're looking at the C2A bulb, which I think is a good go-to bulb for these applications. Memotronics sends you the resistors as well. These aren't as big as some of the bulbs that are in your clocks, but listen, it fits in most all applications and it works really well. So you're going to have to get the bulbs. They come with the resistors. You can see there. We're going to have to get the outer tubing. And if you go to the website Daburn.com, you're looking for the product called the D105. There's two different products that we're looking at. We've got the larger outer tubing, and then I use a smaller inner tubing. And then I'm going to use some heat shrink wrap to make these bulbs. So adding up all those things, after tax, you're looking at about $60. So, and then the wire. I don't skimp on the wire, but you can find this wire on eBay, and evidently people have bought this stuff up in spools. Thermex is a good brand. I would probably, this is 24 gauge. You can get 24 gauge or 22 gauge. It's rated for high voltage and for high temperature. I like the 22 gauge. The 24 gauge because it's a little smaller. But I think if I buy more, I'm going to go ahead and get the 22 gauge. It's a little bit bigger. It's neither here nor there. There's some online that's already twisted pair, so you don't have to have two different cuts. But I like these colors, so we're going to use these. So here's how I do it. I'm not an expert at electronics and stuff like that, so I'm not going to be an expert solderer. I'm going to show you how I would do it. So I'm going to cut my links so that they're about the same. And what I'm modeling this off of. Well, let me go ahead and get my other one cut. So we're going to show you start to finish how long this takes me. You're going to see partly why I'm not going to sell these. This takes a long time. This process takes a long time. And when I'm making multiple, I've had people try to place orders of say 5 or something, and it takes me a long time. I don't have time for it. So I don't want to sound frustrated, but I am a little bit, because a lot of people don't understand why I won't just do it for them. It takes a lot of time, and I don't make any money off of it. For the price that I'd have to pay for my time and for the materials, I'm not going to make any money off of it. So I'm not going to do this, just to let you know. This is a brand new couple mechanism, and it's got a brand new bulb. So what I do is I model these after that, because it's kind of a standard size and such. So I model it after that. We're just going to go there and have about the same amount of wire, but you see I get a little extra wire on the end of mine. So the person, that would be me, or if I gave one away, can trim that back if they want. So that I've modeled it off of a new couple mechanism, which I got off of eBay, new old stock. I've got many of those. I bought them when they weren't so expensive. People are selling them now for almost what you would pay for a clock. So there's my wires. I've already cut my tubing, and again I've decided to use shrink wrap. In the past I actually was trying to go full retro to try to get it back to the way it was, but thing is, if they had shrink wrap back then, they would have used shrink wrap for what I'm going to use it for. I like to use the clear because you can actually see the resistor, and I think that's kind of cool. It's cool looking for one thing, but look, only the person that takes the clock apart is going to see that. But also, you'd be able to see what resistor was on there. Someone going back would be able to read the bands and see what resistor's on there. So the resistors, again, they come with the C2A. So I'll get my resistors out. Now the way I'm going to do this is not the way I used to do it, but I was trying to fix a clock. I was going to try to take the bulb off the clock or take the resistor off and just replace the bulb and keep the resistor. But they had wrapped the resistor on here like I'm going to show you, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get it off. I was kind of mad at the person who did that. Of course, we're talking about somebody, 50 years ago. But I thought, that's actually the way to do it. So let's see if I got all my components. Yeah. So that's how I start. And I'm going to go ahead and do just the, we're going to go ahead and strip this here. So we've got a 24 gauge. So sorry to those of you who are electronically inclined to watch this stuff. You don't have to watch this. You should go somewhere else. That's a silver plated wire. It's not tinned, it's silver plated. You want to get, I would get, like, if you get this online, get the mil spec. Thermex is a good brand, a real good brand, but you don't have to have Thermex. Silver plated, 19, the more strands the better. 19 strands is really good. They come in all different colors. I used to try to get, like the standard colors, like I think brown and white and gray, because I wanted everything to be, I was, infatuated with getting everything just like it was before. And that's not necessary. But still, it's going to be close. Keep everything together. Okay, so that's all my stuff. Now, so we've got our bulb. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to cut one of these leads about like that, and I don't know, 3/4 an inch and an inch, whatever you want to do. Then we're going to take this, our resistor, and what I used to do is to cut it where I wanted it, say about like right here, and then solder them just by laying them together. But some chucklehead in Japan did it this way, which drove me crazy, but it was actually a good way. So I'm just gonna hold that layer like this. All right, that'll work. And then I'll just use my little nippers here and nip that in the bud.
Nip it in the bud.
Okay. All right, now this one here, we're going to leave that long. I used to cut that off too because it doesn't matter. The colors don't really matter because you're using alternating current, so it really doesn't. When I used to make these up, I'd put the same color on the resistor for some reason, just so I knew which one had the resistor on it. Okay, so for this wire, I'm going to go ahead and tin the leads. What that means, and if you don't know what that means, you shouldn't be doing this. No, we're here to learn. I didn't used to know what all that stuff was. Oh Lord. We're going to blame trying to be on camera. I like it a little neater than that usually. Okay, there we go. All right, so you get your soldering iron. I'll just do it this way. It's nice to have one of these helping hands things. It's almost indispensable, so get one. We won't include that in the cost of these bulbs. And if you had to start from scratch, you're going to make yourself one of these bulbs. It's going to cost you about $100 because you're going to need to get you a nice little soldering kit, and it doesn't have to be real fancy. My goodness, Amazon has some really nice ones, and this one I'm using here, I don't even know what brand it is, but it's a good one for my purposes. I accidentally left it on all night. Don't tell my wife, man, she would freak out. I was having a bad night last night, a bad flip clock night, and this thing's still working. So, okay, so I'm going to tin the leads. And I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. A lot of times online, when they're teaching you how to do this, they'll say you heat the wire up and then you let the wire melt the solder. I found that's a little bit too aggressive. You can get away with that on this stuff because this stuff will not, it takes a lot to melt this stuff. But you don't have to do it that aggressive. You don't have to like get that wire that hot. But you do want to warm that wire up, whether it's copper or silver plated, because it's not going to take your solder. You don't melt the solder onto the wire. You don't melt it on the soldering iron, drip it on the wire. So you get the wire real hot. But what I do is I cheat a little bit. Once I know the wire's hot enough, I'll hit that soldering iron once, and that'll take it. So that's something they don't really tell you. And I'll probably make somebody mad by telling you that, but that's just the way it is. It works great that way, but most people don't get their wire hot. So that already looks what we call tinned, and tinned just means putting some solder on it. That already looks tinned, but it's not. It's the silver plate. Look how pretty silver that is. It's silver in there. So again, we're going to warm that up really good. And this is a hot soldering iron. I've got it pretty hot. What do I got it set to? If it's right, it's about 380 to 400. So it's hot. So we'll get that wire nice and warm. And you know you did it right because the wire will take it. The wire just kind of like absorbs it. And so we've got our leads tinned. Now we're back to this mess. So I don't know, what color should I use for the resistor? I'm going to use orange. So I want it about like that, I guess. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and wrap the leg of this, or the lead from that resistor on here. And I never used to do that, and this is so much easier. And I'm trying to make it look neat because, like I said, I'm going to have the clear plastic on that, and nobody wants their stuff to look real messy. I guess I'm real sensitive about that. I don't want people thinking I'm a jackwagon, which is a term of endearment, by the way. But anyway, so, and this stuff looks bigger in the camera than in real life. So these leads, this stuff is not this big, but any mistake I make is going to look big. All right, so I'm gonna quit worrying about what you think. So I want to try to get that kind of straight. I like it to look straight. So now we've got that. We want the wire on the other side. And the wire, this is what the shrink wrap is going to go on to. So I want it about right here when it's all done. And then so I'll get this on here like this. Just enough to keep it still before I solder it. That's about right as far as it goes. I could solder it now and nip it later if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and nip it in the bud right now.
You got to nip it in the bud.
That's about right. I'm going to get that wire soldered on there before it runs off. It'll work. It looks honking, but it's not as honking as it looks. Okay, so again, we've already pre-tinned that, which will make it a little easier to do. So we'll do the wire first, and it's already got solder on it, so it might melt and start to move on me. I really don't think you don't have to do that melting thing, trying to get that wire that hot when you got solder on it already, but you still want this wire up here warm so it'll take the heat. So you want to get it warm. Then I cheat a little bit and hit that soldering iron. That's not very nice. There we go. That'll work. Okay, I'm just getting some of that extra off my soldering iron. It's a tip cleaner. Okay, so we're gonna again get this hot. I'm trying not to touch this, even though it's very heat resistant. It will, it will melt it eventually, but it scars it up. See. I guess I ought to do it. Need that a little bit narrower because that's where this sleeve's going to go over top. So you don't blow on this, you just let it cool by itself. So that's it. Now we'll take our little shrink wrap. Again, the shrink wrap's going to be better because it's not going to drift. In the old applications, they would use maybe they might use clear tubing or like a fiberglass tubing. Then they would use this horrible glue, this brown glue, to make sure the tube didn't move. And I'll tell you, if they had shrink wrap, they would use it. So now when I do shrink wrap, this is just me. Don't use the yellow flame or too far out to the end. It's going to be too hot. I actually use the blue part of it. You can actually melt your solder if you got it too hot. So I start at the back and then move up. So I get it right up there to the edge there. Now I'm going to take my clear tube. And this tube, the size that I've ordered, just fits over top of that resistor. Now, once I get it up there, I shouldn't have done it that way. I'm trying to make it straight so it looks neat. Again, it's not that big of a deal. So now I'm going to grab the back end of the wire and hold and then pull the tube down. And it's snug. So I probably could have gone up another size on that stuff, but for this application it's actually exactly the right size because it ain't going anywhere. It's snug on that resistor. So there's that. You see those two leads can't touch each other. There's just no way. And I like the clear tube so now I can see what resistor it is. Now we'll get our last tube on here. Almost done with our $100 bulb, like if you have to go get all the supplies. And it's just $100 because if you have to get all that stuff. But your soldering iron kit usually will come with your first little bit of solder. So that looks pretty, don't it? I like it. Anyway, so you get to the end here. And I probably could have cut this so that I didn't waste that little inch because, back here I used less wire on this, the green. That's why the green's longer. So I could have, but this is just the way I do it, so it's easier. Cut them both off so they're exactly even, and then you strip them. And give a generous amount there. And because I gave a little extra on my wire, of course, if I want, or if the person wants, or if whoever's using this wants, they can cut. They'll have some more to work with if they need it. So there's that pretty silver strand. And one last. Boy, that solder just runs off. Somebody's running around here, little gremlin. Okay, so again, I already turned it off. Anyway, it needed a break. So you take the soldering iron, get it hot, and then get that on there. My soldering iron went cool. All right, so that's it. That's your $100 neon glow bulb. That's how you do it. It's if you can get the clock open, and if you can get to the bulb, and you can just replace the bulb in the resistor, you'll do that by whatever tubes they're pushing it back. It's difficult. I was going to make a whole video on that. I had the clock part, and I struggled with it, and I got it done, but it was a horrible video. It wouldn't show anybody anything except this was the old one. You can see those old resistors. That's a 250K resistor. That I don't know what bulb that is. I can't find a bulb that takes a 250K resistor online. That's a big one. It came, instead of the tubing, it came with a resin saturated. It's real crispy. That's fiberglass, so it's real heat resistant. But these tubes, again, if you get to go to the Daburn site, real heat resistant. And it won't, even if it did get real hot, it would self-extinguish. So this is good stuff. So that is the neon glow bulb, the $100 neon glow bulb, or $60 if you already got the tools. And if you like, then you could go into business. And I do apologize, but I'm not going to sell these to people. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. So anyway, there it is. Best of luck with your flip clocks.